Hey you guys, what's up? This is James here at Unique Perspectives. Thought I'd make another video. I know my lighting may be a little bit funky, so please endure with me. But I woke up from a nap. I'm not completely all there, but I knew I wanted to make this video. It's been on my mind for a while, and so I wanted to actually just move forward with this. So this may be helpful to some people out there, not very helpful to others, but I still wanted to make it regardless because I think this is a very important topic. It's very dear to actually my heart as a Christian. I wanted to actually talk about atheism and why it is appealing to people, why it's very attractive to people. And I've encountered quite a bit of people over the last 20 years of just being a Christian and things like that. And some of the arguments and discussions that I have been involved in has been very interesting, especially people with a more atheistic background or worldview. And so I just wanted to touch on this, and I think it's important just to talk about it because, yeah, I think it's just important. We all know people that claim to be atheists. You know, they embrace more of a secular standpoint, especially a lot of our liberal leftist woke friends. They often gravitate towards either idolatry or more so just refusing to believe that there is a lawgiver, a creator, an ultimate authority over everyone. And so I wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to start off by really just sharing a short story of an actual person that I know, and I don't want to reveal their name, but I think their story is actually very relevant to this story. So I don't want to disrespect them because they are in my life, but they are an atheist, and it's something that needs to be shared. It's a story that I think needs to be shared, and just to, I just want to put some things together just to address this topic because it's very important to me. Like I said, as a Christian, of course, I think that one of the most important aspects of the Christian faith, other than being right with God, is actually ministering to others and sharing the gospel with this dying world. And I think that there is a very nonchalant attitude that a lot of professing Christians adopt, or maybe they actually are Christians, I'm not sure. And they seem to be really under the impression that as long as they are okay and their immediate family and the immediate friends, they don't really care about what's happening with everyone else in the world. They don't care if other people are on their way to hell. They don't really care if something is happening to other people. They will not actually speak up. I think it was the magician or comedian Penn Jillette, who is 100% atheist. He has many times spoken up and said that he really finds it almost appalling for people that claim to be Christian to not even proselytize, to not even speak on behalf of God if they really believe that other people are on their way to hell. And it's interesting just to hear a comment like that coming from an atheist, because he believes that if you believe everything that you claim that the Bible teaches about heaven and hell and eternity, that you should essentially be sharing the gospel with people, whether they are accepting it or not. You should be adamant about sharing the gospel, and I agree. I totally agree. And so this is something that I just find very interesting, and I want to get into this because, like I said, it's very important, and I have some things I'd like to share. Let me just start off by saying that, first off, I am James. This is Unique Perspectives. Usually I try to do that intro in the beginning, but if you're this far, you're probably curious about the topic anyway, so let's just get right into it. I'd like to start off with a story that would really try to give some insight on why this topic is very important to me. I remember working at a facility, and I was there for about, 7-8 years, and I was working at this job. I actually did a very good job at the job. I received a lot of compliments regarding my work ethics and just learning really fast and becoming very reliable very quickly, and became very popular. But it was a really female-dominant field, and so it was really nice to finally have a male come on board at this job, and really handsome guy. I thought it was really nice just to meet up and connect with this guy. And so we weren't necessarily friends initially, but we had a mutual respect for one another and what we did. I really, somebody from another country and all that, so he had a very straightforward attitude, which was very refreshing because a lot of us Americans tend to kind of like skate around our real feelings about whatever it is that we want to say and stuff like that. So it was always nice to be around somebody that didn't skate around what he really wanted to say, but he really would be straightforward. But I remember he did have some challenges in his own relationship, and it's a long story. I'm not going to go into that, but ultimately his marriage didn't work out. And I'm not going to disclose the details, I know, but things didn't work out. He did have an atheistic background. As of right now, I've known him for more than 5 years now, maybe give or take, and he still embraces that worldview as an atheist. But I remember we were working at this facility, and because there were times when things would get really tough at this facility, we would actually need help. So we would actually, the director of this facility would actually call help from outside agencies for us to get help. And we met a lot of people. Me, the other ladies that worked there, and this gentleman who was working there as well. We would meet a lot of people that would come and go. Sometimes we would meet people that actually were really solid, cool friends that we can connect with. They would help us temporarily for a week, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes a day, sometimes a month. We started building friendships and relationships with these people. Different ages, different cultures. It was really just very nice. But I do remember one particular lady that joined us. Very, very attractive lady. Very attractive lady. Young lady in her 20s. And she was just one of the most beautiful things that ever walked into this facility. He and I, I'm going to say my buddy, we both said, wow, this woman is gorgeous. We both agreed this woman was absolutely gorgeous. And we've seen her a few times. We connected with her, and she actually seemed pretty down to earth. Usually when a lady is very attractive, there's this stereotype that she's not very down to earth. Maybe she has these unrealistic expectations, things that no one can talk to her. But this woman actually was pretty down to earth. I remember we seen her for a series of weeks or days, and then we didn't see her for a while, and we both asked ourselves, was she married? Did she have a ring? And we were both asking ourselves, both heterosexual men, obviously attracted to an attractive woman, but we wanted to know what was her marital status, relationship status, just out of curiosity. As guys, we're always on the prowl. If we're single, we're always looking. And so what was interesting is that later on, she actually did return, and we noticed that she had a big, huge rock on her finger. We both seen that she was actually married. In fact, we had the opportunity to connect with her, and we went out to a restaurant with her and met her husband for the first time. One of the most nicest guys I ever met. Really wonderful guy. Very meek, very mild-mannered type of guy. The four of us actually had dinner together. But what was very interesting to me is that over time, I noticed that I detected something about the young lady, and it just seemed like I don't know what it was. It could have been the Holy Spirit. I don't want to sound too mystical, but it could have been God's Spirit kind of guiding me. But at the time I was working out tremendously, and so I'm like really big and muscles popping out, but I would go around hugging everybody in the morning, and I started to pull back from her because I detected something about her relationship status that didn't seem right to me, or maybe something was happening. Maybe God was communicating with me or something. I observed that it didn't seem very wise to be very touchy with her, even though that was something that I felt like it was just natural because I love people and stuff, but it was just something something kind of told me like back off when it comes to that. And so I chose to. However, I of course responded that way because I'm a Christian. This is a married woman. I don't know what's going on in her relationship. I don't know the details, but I know that I want to respect her marriage. Now, obviously there were other people that were married. They were in very stable marriages, so you can kind of see like it's okay to greet them, hug them, there was just an understanding. But I remember my atheist buddy, he didn't have that same boundary as I did as a Christian. As an atheist, he had the freedom because there was no guideline regarding respecting marriage or things like that. He started actually spending a lot of time with her. In fact, I started seeing them for weeks and for months, spending time together during their break time. They actually happened to be taking their break at the same time. And anytime I did have the opportunity to join them, I didn't choose to join them, and it wasn't because I had a problem with them. I like to read and go outside and stuff like that, so I would do my own thing. But I was growing closer to them both, but I noticed that they were spending a lot of time together. Now, as a Christian, we all know that that's a no-no because obviously God respects and loves the marriage covenant. He created it. And so I know as a Christian man that, it's a very important covenant to God and also to me as a Christian. So yes, I'm going to back away from a woman that is married. I want to just respect her marriage. I want to respect the man because as a Christian principle, we want to love our neighbor as ourselves. So I knew to stay away from this woman because I just detected something going on in her relationship. I noticed that my buddy started to get, very close to her. And he even told me a few times they hung out outside of work, and he was very standoffish with sharing with me, so I can tell maybe he was uncomfortable and he knew. As a Christian, I would not approve of that behavior. But it wasn't until later on I found out that they were actually dating, and they transitioned into, as of now, they've actually built a family together and they're together. And I'm not trying to embarrass them or anything like that because they're very important to me. But I want to share the objective facts is that when a person adopts an atheistic worldview, it's only for one reason. It's in an attempt to escape God. It's an attempt to escape God. I want to read actually a portion of scripture. This is actually a parable of the prodigal son, and I just want to read a portion of it because it'll help me explain a lot of what I want to share. So this is located in Luke chapter 15, and it's actually in its entirety. It's actually verse 11 through 32, but I'm not going to read all of the parable of the prodigal son. And this is something Jesus shared during his ministry for those 3.5 years. But he was explaining a bigger thing, but I actually want to just kind of share a portion. Here we go. And he said, there was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me my share of the property that is coming to me. Some other translations say inheritance. And he divided, the dad divided, and he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. So that's where I want to stop. My point is atheism, according to Ray Comfort, and I love the parable, I love the analogy that he uses. Ray Comfort, one of the best, evangelists, I'm going to say, guys out there that is preaching for the Lord, and Living Water is the ministry that God used to create through him, is the ministry that God used to actually convert me and change me, and that's how I was exposed to the gospel. Ray often describes atheism as a far country. It's a place where somebody can gather all their things, go away as far as they can away from God, at least in their mind, to escape God and do whatever it is they want. You can steal and go after somebody's wife. You can go around and take things that don't belong to you. You can do whatever you want because in your atheistic worldview, there is no ultimate level of right and wrong. I've shared this many times online. I think it's sometimes more difficult these days for atheists to try to defend their position when it comes to what do they believe, because it's really a silly foundation to say, well, you know what, I believe that nothing created everything, which we all know that is a scientific impossibility. When somebody says, hey, I believe the Big Bang or I believe evolution, and then you ask them, well, where did that come from? It's very difficult for them to explain, and it's because it's not rational. It's not relying on one's intellect. It's really by faith. It's essentially a religion. So it's very difficult to try to explain that sort of thing to an atheist from an intellectual standpoint. And this is why it's really important that we approach all atheists or anyone, whether they're in a false religion or whatever it is they have, to share the gospel with them. And you always want to address the reality. It's that we broke God's law and Jesus paid our fine. So it's really important to unpack that, to let them know that they are not in a place in which they are on their way to heaven, but to hell, and to reject Christ, to reject God's moral guidelines, his law. It's really important that we emphasize to them that they are not on their way to heaven but to hell because of the things that they have done regarding sin. God is not going to just allow people to do whatever it is they want and then all of a sudden they go to heaven with him. Sin is going to be punished wherever it's found. Lying, cheating, all the different violations of the commandments, God is going to take very seriously. And so this is why it's important for Christians like us to actually speak up to our atheist friends and tell them that they are actually in jeopardy, that when they take that last breath, God is going to use death in itself to escort them into eternity, and they're going to get judged. Hebrews 9:27 tells us it's appointed for everyone to die once, and after this the judgment. It's very important that we explain to our atheist buddies that they are in jeopardy, that there is no intellectual ideas that will save them once they take that last breath. And after they reach eternity, that's when there is no chance of salvation and forgiveness of sin. I want to leave you guys with one last passage that I think is very important, and it's found in the book of Romans. Anytime a lot of us committed Christians that are familiar with our Bibles hear atheism or secularism and things like that, we immediately think of Romans chapter 1, and more specifically verse 20 through, I'm going to say, 23. And I just want to read that and just maybe unpack it before I end this video. The Bible says about people that have this worldview. Here we go. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, both his eternal power and divine nature, has been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. So the Bible's saying that you already know that there is a God. There are a lot of people that pretend that there's no God, but we know that a building does not create itself. The building itself is proof that there was a builder. We know that a painting itself is proof that there's a painter, and we know that creation itself is proof that there's a creator. For even though they knew God, they did not glorify him as God or give thanks, but they became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. As people that come into this world with a sinful sinful nature that we inherited, we are darkened, we are blind from spiritual things. Now, we can understand basic things like rationality, logic, and there are a lot of things that we understand, but there are a lot of things that we're locked out of when it comes to spiritual things, like the identity of God. You know, we understand that there is a God, but we may not know a lot of those things until God has initiated his inner workings within us, which is being born again. That's John 3:3. The last verse here I want to share. Professing to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the incorruptible God for an image in the likeness of corruptible man, and of the birds, and of four-footed animals, and crawling creatures. So people will create their own God, even if it's within themselves, even if it's a design that is foreign, they will create a false God. But everyone knows that there's a God. So it's really important that we talk to our atheist buddies. Let them know that even if they adopt this silly secular standpoint in an attempt to escape God so they can do whatever it is they want, there will be a day of judgment, and they will answer to God. And every idle work that they speak, they will give an account on the day of judgment. That it's appointed for everyone to die once, and after this, the judgment. That's Hebrews 9:27. So it's essential that we understand the gospel and we share with our atheist brothers and sisters out there that God is going to have the last say. So it's really important that if you care about them, that you're going to risk offending them to tell them the truth. Guys, God bless you guys. Thank you for listening. And yeah, if you have any thoughts, please hit me up and take care. God bless you. And this is James here at Unique Perspectives. Bye.